The galaxy was quiet in a way that felt wrong. Not peaceful, not soft, but empty, as if something huge had taken a breath and never let it out again. On the far edge of the Orion spiral stood a lonely station called Valen Reach, a place where many alien species met, traded, and shared news. But today, everyone inside the station waited for only one thing: a reply from humanity. Keller, a young officer with calm blue skin and sharp eyes, stood in front of the main communication screen. The screen showed a simple blinking message: transmission to human space, sent status. No, I don't know what. It had been 3 long weeks since Valen Reach sent the message. 3 weeks of silence, 3 weeks of fear. And now the station felt as if the walls were holding their breath. Around Keller, the main hall was crowded. Leaders, diplomats, soldiers, and travelers waited and watched the silent communication board. They whispered among themselves, their voices shaking. Humans always reply. Always, one elder muttered. Maybe they did not receive it. Maybe they are busy with something. Maybe they are gone. That last sentence made the room colder. Keller looked at the blinking screen again. He grew up hearing stories about humans. Stories about how they turned losing battles into victories. Stories about their courage, their madness, their heart. Humans did not hide. They did not stay silent. If they were quiet now, something was very, very wrong. The station commander, a tall alien with metal-like skin, stepped forward and raised his voice. "We will try again." Everyone held their breath as he pressed the command. Message resent, waiting for response. The hall stayed silent. Seconds passed, then minutes. Then, nothing. The board showed the same message. No reply. A wave of fear passed through the crowd. A small alien broke down crying. Another cursed the screen. Someone else shouted that humans had abandoned them. Keller felt a strange pressure in his chest. Humans did not abandon anyone. Humans were the type who ran toward danger, not away from it. He turned to Commander Lethos. "Sir, what if they cannot reply?" Keller asked softly. "Explain," the commander said. "What if something happened to them? Something big. Something dangerous?" Commander did not answer. His eyes shifted toward the edge of the hall, where a group of scientists hurried in. The lead scientist held a tablet in shaking hands. "We scanned the outer human border again. We found something." The hall became silent. The scientist continued. "A human outpost. Active lights. Active systems. But no human life signs." The entire room froze. "How is that possible?" someone whispered. "They do not leave stations empty," another said. "Maybe they evacuated. Maybe they were taken. Maybe they are dead." Keller clenched his jaw. He hated the panic, the fear. He stepped forward. "What else did you find?" The scientist hesitated. There was a signal. Weak. Repeating. "What kind of signal?" the commander asked. The scientist swallowed hard. A silent pulse. Not a message. More like a warning beacon. And it came from deep human space. Keller's skin grew cold. "A warning beacon. What does it say?" he whispered. "It says nothing," the scientist replied. "That is the message. Silence. Silence. Again. Always silence." Keller looked around the room. Everyone felt the same stabbing fear. Humanity was many things: brave, loud, unpredictable, powerful. But they were never silent unless something forced them to be. The commander finally spoke. "We cannot wait anymore. We need answers. We need a team to travel into human space and find out what happened." Keller felt a strange pull inside him. He knew what he had to say. "Send me," he spoke clearly. The commander studied him. "You understand the risk?" "Yes," Keller said. "But if humanity is in trouble, we cannot turn away. They helped us before. It is our turn," the room murmured. It was true. Humans had saved entire species when no one else cared. They had broken empires that hurt the weak. They had stood between darkness and light. and now they were silent. The commander slowly nodded. Very well. You will lead the scout mission. You leave at dawn. Keller bowed his head. I will find the truth. As he turned to leave, something strange happened. The silent communication board flickered. The lights dimmed for a second, then brightened again, and the screen showed a new message. Incoming signal source. Unknown translating. The hall went completely still. Everyone stared at the screen. The translation appeared just 5 words. Do not call us again. A chill spread across the room like cold water. The message did not sound angry. It sounded afraid, and that scared them more than anything. Keller stepped closer to the screen. Something about the message felt familiar, like it was written by a shaking hand. Is it really from humans? Someone whispered. The system ran the signature scan. Sender ID. Human Relay Station 9 status. Unmanned signal sent. AUTOM, MAT, ASAL, L, AOS, AOL, AOL. Something had triggered it. Keller felt his heart beating fast. This is not a reply, he said quietly. This is a warning. The lights in the hall flickered again, and a deep hum moved through the walls. The station sensors flashed red. Alert. Unknown energy wave detected direction. Human SPA, everyone. Panicked. Keller stared at the warning. The silence was not just a missing answer. It was a shadow, stretching toward them. He whispered to himself, humanity is trying to protect us. By staying silent. The real question was far worse. Protect them from what? He would soon find out. Keller did not sleep that night. His mind kept replaying the last message from the empty human station. Do not call us again. Those 5 words felt like the edge of something dark. Something alive, something coming toward the galaxy faster than anyone understood. At dawn, Keller stood inside the hangar bay of Valen Reach. A small scout ship waited for him and his team. Its silver hull reflected the dim station lights. Its engines hummed like a sleeping beast preparing to wake. 3 officers joined him, Siren, quiet but sharp engineer with golden eyes. Varric, a heavy-armored soldier known for never fearing anything. Mirel, a young navigator with a calm mind and steady hands. Keller took a slow breath before speaking. We travel into human space. We find out the truth, and we come back alive. The team nodded. The ramp closed. Engines roared softly. And the ship left the station as the stars opened wide before them. The empty border. Human. Territory was usually bright trade routes, patrol lights, civilian ships, and satellites forming a living web across space. But when Keller's ship crossed the border, everything was dark, like a city where all the lights were turned off at the same time. Varric frowned. I do not like this. Not even drones are moving. Rel checked her screens. Systems active, but no pilots. No life signs. Only automated patterns. Keller's throat tightened. Humans never let drones patrol alone. Something forced them. The deeper they flew, the stranger the silence became. Stations floated like empty shells. Ships drifted with lights on, but decks lifeless. It was like the humans had simply stood up and walked away from everything. Then Saren suddenly spoke. Captain, I am detecting a signal. Very weak. Repeating every 11 seconds. What kind of signal? Keller asked. A distress pulse, Saren answered. Old human style. Pre-war technology. Varric raised an eyebrow. Why would they use old tech? Keller already knew the answer. Old signals are harder to track. They do not travel far. Someone wanted to hide. The human warp gate, the signal led them to a large metallic ring, a human warp gate. It once connected the galaxy to deep human space. Now, it floated in the dark, broken, but still humming with slow, dying energy. Warning lights blinked across it like weak heartbeats, Mirel whispered. Wait, it looks abandoned. No, Saren said. It is not abandoned. It is locked. On emergency mode, Keller guided the ship closer. As they approached the gate, a repeating message flashed across their screen. Warning, communication. Block active, do not transmit. Do not answer any signals, silence is required. Rick slammed his fist against the console. What does that mean? Silence from who? From what? Keller felt cold. The humans had not been silent because they wanted to hide something. They were silent because they were protecting something. Or someone. Let us check the gate logs, Keller said. Sarah nodded and connected to the gate's old system. The screen flickered. Then images appeared, short clips recorded by human cameras. Clip 1. A human soldier running through a burning corridor. Clip 2. A huge shadow crawling across a ceiling. Silent and fast. Clip 3. A scientist screaming, "Turn off everything. They hear us. They hear us." Then the screen turned black. Keller closed his eyes for a moment. Whatever hunted them. It learned through sound, energy, signals, communication. A predator made for a galaxy full of voices. Inside the gate, they docked with the human gate and entered through an emergency airlock. The place felt frozen and time panels smashed, walls scorched with strange black burns that glowed faintly. Muriel whispered, "These burn marks. They are not from any weapon we know." Saren touched one gently. "The structure is broken at the molecular level. Something ate through the metal." Keller looked around. "Stay together." They moved deeper into the dark halls. Lights flickered, showing broken armor, fallen drones, and smashed terminals. It looked like a battle happened recently, and humans lost. Then Varric suddenly raised his weapon. Movement. Everyone froze. A faint... Keller quickly checked the readings. He is alive, but very weak. The pod opened with a hiss. The man fell forward, gasping for air. Saren caught him. The soldier tried to speak, but his voice was broken. Keller leaned closer. "You are safe. We came to find you." The human's eyes widened with fear, not at them, but at the walls around them. His voice shook. "Turn. Off your comes." "What?" Keller asked. The soldier coughed, trembling. "Turn. Everything. Off." They listen. They follow the noise. Muriel and Varric shared a scared look. Keller whispered, "Who?" "Who follows?" The soldier raised his hand, pointing to the ceiling. His whisper was so low it barely existed. "The Devourers." Suddenly, a loud beep echoed from Saren's scanner. All of them turned pale. Unknown signal detected energy pattern, approaching direction. Outside the gate, the human soldiers struggled to stand. "It hurt us. It is coming." Keller felt every hair on his body rise. "What is coming?" he asked. The soldier looked at him with hollow eyes. "Death." Shadow passed across the window, huge, silent, moving like a living nightmare. Captain Muriel whispered, voice shaking, "We are not alone." Keller took one final breath as lights began to flicker wildly. Something had found them. Asterisk. The shadow outside the gate moved with slow, careful purpose, like a giant creature studying its prey. Inside the dark metal hall, Keller and his team stayed frozen, listening to the faint, broken breathing of the injured human soldier. The soldier leaned against the wall, his legs shaking. His armor was cracked, one shoulder dark with dried blood, and his eyes looked as if he had not slept in days. Keller crouched beside him. "What is your name?" The young man swallowed hard. "Lieutenant. Arden Hell." Saren immediately shut down the team's units. "Everything is off, Captain. No signals. No noise." Arden nodded weakly. "Good, that thing outside. It follows sound. Not normal sound. But the energy inside signals, engines, weapons. Anything that speaks." Varric frowned. "It hunts communication." "It hunts anything that tries to connect," Arden whispered. "It learned our patterns. It followed every message, every broadcast, every cry for help." Keller felt a cold wave pass through his body. This enemy did not attack bases or armies. It attacked communication, the one thing every civilization needed to survive. "How did it start?" Keller asked softly. Arden closed his eyes. When he spoke, his voice broke. "We sent out a call for help. A signal to warn the galaxy. And that was our mistake. He paused, breathing shaking. It hurt us first. The human collapsed as Arden rested against the wall. Keller guided him gently. Tell us what happened to humanity. Arden opened his eyes again, staring into the metal floor as if he was watching the memory repeat. It started 2 years ago. A research vessel found something in the outer void, a dark sphere drifting through space. No heat, no sound, no light. We brought it in to study it. Then, Muriel whispered. It woke, Arden said simply. He touched the cracked part of his armor. It killed everyone in seconds. Not with weapons. With understanding, it read our signals. Learned our codes? It grew stronger with every message we sent. Xirin's hands trembled. A creature that evolves from information? Arden nodded. Every time a human voice reached the stars, it followed. It used our own networks to track us. Our own broadcasts to find our colonies. Silence became the only defense. Keller's stomach twisted. That is why you stopped answering calls. We had 2, Arden whispered. Every message could lead it to someone new. The injured soldier's voice cracked. We lost Earth in 3 weeks. Everyone went silent. Arden continued in a broken whisper. We tried to fight. We tried to hide. We sent warnings. But every signal only taught it more. Keller felt his heart sink. Humanity, the loudest, bravest, wildest species, was forced into silence to survive. Where are the rest of your people? Keller asked gently. Arden looked at him with tired eyes, hiding in the dark. No light, no sound. Drifting in places where nothing speaks. The silent predator, faint vibration moved through the floor. Like a giant breath against the hull, Varric gripped his weapon. It is still outside. Arden's voice cut sharply. Put that down. Do not fire. Do not move. Do not make a single signal. Varric lowered his weapon slowly, sweat forming at his temples. Keller whispered, What is it exactly? Arden took a long, shaking breath. We call them the Devourers. But they are not beasts. They are learning machines. Living shadows. They eat data, sound, movement, energy. They grow from it. Morel stepped back. So if we speak, it hears us, Arden said. If we use comms, it finds us. If we turn on engines, it follows. The team looked around the dark hallway. Realizing how fragile their lives suddenly were, Keller looked at Arden. How did you survive? Arden's face softened with a small, painful smile. I stayed behind after my team fell. Someone needed to lock the gate. Someone needed to make sure the warning stayed on repeat. I kept the silence going, so others would not be found. Keller lowered his voice. You sacrificed yourself to protect the galaxy. Arden looked down. I only did what any human would. Signal they did not send suddenly. Saren's scanner flashed with a faint red pulse. The whole team froze. What was that? Varric whispered. Saren stared at the screen, confused. We are not transmitting. Everything is off. Arden grabbed Saren's wrist. It is not from you. The scanner pulsed again. It is from the Devourer. Keller's heart dropped. It is scanning us, Arden said quietly. It knows something is inside the gate. It is searching for our voice, Varric whispered. How long until it finds us? Arden answered with terrifying calm. That depends on how long we stay foolish. Keller moved toward Arden and lifted him carefully. We need to get back to the ship. Arden looked weak, but determined. Your ship is a problem. Its core makes noise. You will have to shut it down completely before we leave. Ariel's eyes widened. Then how do we fly? You do not fly, Arden said. You drift. Keller stared at him. Drift into human deep space. Arden nodded. It is the only way to live. The Devourer arrives, a deep groaning sound echoed from the metal walls. Lights flickered. The temperature dropped. Muriel shivered. Captain, it is docking with the gate. The shadow outside grew larger, darker, deeper, like a living wound in space. Arden whispered, It is here. Keller swallowed hard. Everyone, stay calm. Stay silent. The entire team stood frozen as the creature's shadow moved across the windows. It was massive, bigger than any ship they had ever seen, with a surface that shifted like liquid metal and eyes that glowed with quiet hunger. A thin beam of black energy swept across the hallway, searching, listening, hunting. Arden leaned closer to Keller. "We have one chance left," Keller whispered. "What is it?" Arden's voice was barely a breath. "You must trust the silence." The entire gate fell into darkness. For a moment, Keller thought the universe had stopped breathing. The human gate sank into total darkness. No lights, no engines, no sound. Only the soft, slow hum of something monstrous moving outside the metal walls. The DEVOUR. Its shadow crawled across the windows like a living night. Huge, silent, searching. Keller held his breath. Arden leaned weakly against him, barely standing but more alert than anyone else. Varric, Saren, and Mirel stayed frozen behind them, not even daring to shift their weight. Arden whispered, voice thin like a dying spark, "Do not even think loudly." Keller did not understand what that meant, but he understood the fear in Arden's eyes. That was enough. The searchlight of darkness, the hallway lit up with a thin beam, pure black light. Moving slowly, it passed across the walls, the floor, the ceiling, scanning the air, tasting every molecule. Mirel closed her eyes. Afraid that even her heartbeat was too loud, the beam came closer, closer, closer. It passed across Varric's armor. He did not move. Sweat rolled down his face. Then the beam touched Keller's chest. He felt a cold pressure, like something trying to pull his voice out of him. Arden reached out and gently grabbed Keller's wrist. A silent warning. Do not fight it. Stay empty, Keller. Let his mind go blank. He thought of nothing. He imagined he was a rock. The black beam lingered. Then, it passed. The devourer moved on, not finding them, not hearing them. For now, reaching the ship, Arden motioned to the team. "We must reach your ship while it is distracted," Keller nodded. They moved slowly, silently, step by careful step, deeper into the gate's shadowed halls. Keller supported Arden's weak body. Every footstep felt too loud even, though no sound came from the floor. When they reached the docking port, Saren pressed her hand on the control panel. "Nothing happened. It is locked down," Saren whispered. Arden lifted his head weakly. Human gates enter full silence mode. Everything shuts off. You must open it manually. Saren's fingers moved fast along the manual override. Suddenly a small metallic click echoed. Everyone stared at her. Even that tiny sound felt like a scream. Outside the walls, the devourer stopped moving. Keller whispered sharply, "Open it." Now, Saren threw her weight into the panel. The door slid open just enough for them to squeeze through. The devourer's shadow moved again. It had heard them. Boarding in darkness, the team slipped inside the scout ship and shut the hatch behind them. Varric immediately reached for the main engine switch. Arden grabbed his arm. "Do not turn that on. You will kill all of us." Varric froze. "Then how do we escape?" Arden nodded weakly toward the controls. "Shut down everything." Total silence. Keller hesitated. "We need engines, navigation, life support." Arden's breathing was weak, but his voice was firm. "You need nothing. Drift. Let space carry you." That is how the last human fleet survived. Saren quickly powered down every system. One by one, the lights faded. Engines stopped humming. The ship became a dead shell drifting in empty space. Inside the cockpit, only a tiny emergency lamp glowed faintly on the dashboard. Mara whispered, "Trembling, Captain. This feels like a coffin." Arden leaned back against the wall and closed his eyes. Humans live like this for months. No light, no warmth, only hope. Keller stared at him, surprised. "How did you stay alive?" "We trusted each other more than fear," Arden murmured. The silent chase the devourer's massive body drifted past the ship's window. Its glowing eyes scanned the void, searching, hunting. It sensed a presence but could not understand where it came from. Arden held his breath. It knows something. Moved, he whispered. The devourer paused. Its shape rippled like liquid metal. Then a dark tendril extended toward the gate, toward the corridor they had just escaped from. It examined the metal, reading vibrations, tasting leftover energy. Saren whispered, "It is smart." Arden replied softly, "It is learning." The creature slowly drifted away, circling the area like a giant shark in black water. Keller's heart pounded. Muriel's voice was barely a breath. "Is it gone?" "No," Arden whispered. "It is waiting." A human choice. Keller turned to Arden. "Why did humans not destroy these creatures?" Arden opened his eyes. "Pain, anger, sorrow, we tried. But every weapon we used, it learned to copy. Every strategy, it used against us. In the end, silence was the only thing it could not learn from. So we used it. We looked at the stars beyond the window. We hid, so others would not die." Keller felt a weight in his chest. Humanity, loud, wild, fearless humanity, had become silent for the sake of the galaxy. Not cowards, protectors drifting toward hope. The ship drifted slowly, carried by the natural pull of distant stars. Hours passed in complete quiet. No one spoke. No one moved. Even Arden stayed silent, eyes half closed, but awake. Finally, the devourer drifted farther away, disappearing into the dark clouds of nebula. Muriel exhaled shakily. "It is leaving." Arden watched it fade. "It will return. It always does. But not to us. Not today." Keller placed a hand on Arden's shoulder. "We will take you to Valen Reach. You will be safe there." Arden shook his head slowly. "I cannot. If I go there, the creature may follow. It may sense the change in my survival. I must go where others are silent." Keller felt his heart twist. "Where will you go?" Arden smiled faintly. "To my people. To the hidden places." He looked at Keller with tired but determined eyes. "And I will tell them you've helped me." Humanity's promise before they separated. Keller asked one last question. "Humanity, are they still alive? Truly alive?" Arden nodded slowly. "Yes, scattered, hiding, silent, but alive, waiting for the right moment." Keller felt a spark of hope. And when will that moment come? Arden's voice was soft but strong. "When the galaxy needs us again." The lights of the scout ship flickered back on. Engines hummed softly, now safe to use. Arden stood at the airlock, pale but alive. "Silence saved the last of us," he said. "And one day, humanity will speak again." He stepped into a small escape pod. Programmed to drift toward the hidden human zones, Keller watched him go. "Good luck, Arden Hale." The pod launched quietly. Disappearing into the darkness, Keller whispered into the quiet ship. Humanity did not vanish. They learned to whisper so the stars could live.